That's avoiding idle talk, a call to speak wisely, to guard silence, to let truth shine through stillness. Thomas à Kempis shows us contentment isn't in the noise we make, but in the quiet we keep, a space where grace breathes. And yet, as we still our tongues and nurture this inner calm, a new longing stirs, one that pushes us beyond mere peace toward a fire for something greater. Thomas feels it too, and he leads us next into the pursuit of peace and zeal for perfection. Part 11, Acquiring Peace and Zeal for Perfection. And so, with our words tempered and our spirits steadied by the discipline of silence, we step into a radiant call, acquiring peace and zeal for perfection. Thomas à Kempis gazes at the soul's journey and sees two flames burning as one piece, the deep calm that anchors us, and zeal, the holy fire that drives us to grow. He writes, "If you would have peace and true unity, you must put all else aside and look only to yourself and God." This isn't about resting idly or chasing flawlessness, it's about finding stillness in surrender and fervor in striving, a dance of rest and reach toward the divine. Let's begin with a story. Meet Olivia, a 34-year-old teacher juggling a classroom of rowdy kids and a home full of chaos, two toddlers, a tired husband, endless to-dos. She's worn thin, snapping one minute, numb the next. One night, she collapses into a chair, opens the Imitation of Christ, and reads, "Peace is with the humble." She breathes, "Praise Lord, quiet me," and lets the day's noise fade. Next morning, she's not fixed, but steadier, smiles at her kids, teaches with patience. That's peace creeping in, a gift of letting go. But then, something else sparks. She wants more, not just calm, but better. She starts small, prays daily, cuts distractions, seeks kindness over rush. That's zeal, a hunger to grow. Thomas would sit with Olivia and say, "Peace is your root, zeal your wings, both come from God." He's not promising a perfect life. Christ himself faced storms, but he calls us to a double grace: rest in what is, strive for what can be. Peace soothes the heart's turmoil, zeal lights its purpose. Together, they're a harmony, stillness that fuels fire, fire that seeks the eternal. Here's another tale. Picture Victor, a 52-year-old carpenter with hands rough from decades of work. He's steady, builds tables that last, lives simply, but lately, he's restless. Is this all? He wonders, feeling stuck. One Sunday, he hears, "Be perfect, as your Father is perfect," and it sticks. He starts reading scripture, finds Thomas's words, "Seek perfection in little things." Peace settles first. He stops fretting the big picture, trusts his daily grind. Then zeal kicks in. He crafts with more care, helps a neighbor fix a porch, prays over each nail. "It's not big," he says, "but it's mine." His work glows now, quiet and alive. Unpacking contentment in peace and zeal. What do these twin gifts bring us? Thomas weaves them into that ever-growing tapestry of contentment, a peace that rests and a zeal that rises, together whole. Let's unpack it, because this is the soul's sweet spot. First, peace heals. Olivia's frayed edges smoothed when she surrendered. Chaos didn't win, grace did. "Come to me, and I will give you rest," Scripture promises, and that healing quiets the storm inside. It's not escape, it's embrace, a contentment that holds you when life pulls. Second, zeal inspires. Victor's restlessness turned to purpose when he aimed higher, not grand, but true. Peace alone might stagnate, but zeal stirs it, small steps toward goodness, a fire that warms without burning out. That inspiration feeds contentment, a joy in growing, not just being. Third, they balance. Peace without zeal drifts, zeal without peace exhausts. Thomas marries them. Olivia's calm fueled her kindness, Victor's drive rested in trust. Seek first the kingdom, Christ says, and this dance delivers a contentment that's alive, steady yet striving, rooted yet reaching. Connecting to modern life. Let's bring this to your world, right here in 2025. Peace and zeal feel like antidotes to our frenzy. Take work, ever buried under stress, Racing for done? Olivia's chaos is yours. Emails, deadlines, no air. Thomas says, seek peace. Pause, breathe, pray it steadies you. Then zeal do it well. Focus sharper, not harder. Contentment blooms when you rest and rise. Or social media, that restless scroll. You're chasing trends, comparing, drained. Victor's is this all, echoes there. Find peace, Thomas urges. Log off, sit still. Then zeal, use it right. Share light, not noise. A peace that settles, a fire that lifts. And personal crises? A loss, a doubt. Peace soothes the ache, zeal pulls you forward. Olivia and Victor learned, cast your cares, scripture says, then press on. In a world of rush and rut, this pair is gold, a contentment that heals and hopes. A final story and reflection. One last tale to bind it. There's a man named Elias, 70, a retired fisherman with weathered hands and a soft grin. Life's battered him storms at sea, a son lost young, but he's steady. Each dawn, he sits with his Bible. The peace of God surpasses understanding and it holds him. Then he moves men's nets for kids learning the trade, shares fish with neighbors. Keep going, he says, eyes bright. Peace anchors him, zeal sails him on. That's acquiring peace and zeal for perfection, a call to rest deeply, to strive truly, to live both in grace. Thomas à Kempis shows us contentment isn't static, it's a quiet fire, burning for God's glory. And yet, as we settle into this harmony of peace and purpose, life has a way of testing it, not with ease, but with trials that shake us. Thomas doesn't shy away, he leans in, leading us next to the unexpected gift hidden in adversity. Part 12, The Value of Adversity. And so, with peace steadying our hearts and zeal lighting our path, we come to a lesson forged in the crucible of struggle, the value of adversity. Thomas à Kempis looks at life's hard edges, pain, loss, setbacks, and sees not ruin, but refinement. He writes, "It is good for us to have trials and troubles at times, for they often remind us that we are in exile and cannot put our trust in anything of this world. This isn't about embracing suffering for its own sake, it's about finding its worth, a strength that blooms when the storm strips everything else away." Let's start with a story. Meet Maya, a 29-year-old graphic designer with a bright spark until a car accident takes her right hand's strength. Months blur, therapy, tears, a career she loved now a question mark. Why me? She rages, staring at blank screens where art once flowed. One day, a friend leaves her the Imitation of Christ, and she reads, "Adversity makes us know ourselves." Bitter at first, she keeps going, learns to draw left-handed, slow, clumsy. It's not the same, but it's hers, and a quiet grit grows. She designs again, simpler, deeper. "I'm still here," she whispers. That's adversity's value, not the crash, but the rising. Thomas would sit with Maya and say, "Trials aren't your end, they're your teacher." He's not sugarcoating pain. Christ wept, bled, died, but he sees its purpose. Adversity strips illusions, false hope, pride, the lie of control, and leaves truth. We're frail, yet held. It's not punishment, it's pruning, cutting what's shallow to grow what's strong. Here's another tale. Picture Sam, a 47-year-old factory worker, steady till layoffs hit. Years of sweat vanish, a mortgage looms, kids need shoes, and his pride's a ghost. "I've failed," he mutters, avoiding mirrors. One night, he reads, "In tribulation, we are made perfect." He scoffs, then softens, takes a lower job, learns coding online, leans on his wife's faith. Months later, he's coding full-time, not rich, but alive. "It broke me open," he says, "and I found more." Adversity turned his fall into a climb. Unpacking contentment in adversity's value. What does this hard gift bring us? Thomas threads it into that rich tapestry of contentment, a peace that endures, a zeal that deepens through the fire. Let's unpack it, because this is raw but real. First, it brings self-knowledge. Maya's loss peeled back her shell. She wasn't just her hands, but her will to fight. We are dust, scripture humbles, and adversity mirrors it, shows our cracks, our core. That knowing isn't despair, it's grounding, a contentment that roots in truth, not pretense. Second, it builds endurance. Sam's collapse forged him. Each step back up thickened his spine. Tribulation works patience, Thomas echoes Paul, and that grit holds. It's not instant, it's slow, a contentment that stands when winds howl, because it's been tested. Third, it deepens faith. Adversity's sting drove Maya and Sam to look up. My strength is made perfect in weakness, Scripture promises. Thomas says its gold trials burn away trust in the world, leave trust in God. That faith fuels contentment, a peace not shaken, a zeal not snuffed, because it's born in the dark. Connecting to modern life. Let's bring this to your world, right here in 2025. Adversity's no stranger, it's the uninvited guest we all host. Take work. Ever lost a job, a deal, a dream? Sam's factory floor is yours. Security gone, shame heavy. Thomas says, see its worth. It's not the end, learn from it, pivot, grow. Contentment comes when you rise, not just recover. Or social media, that curated lie. You're scrolling, fine, then a post hits, someone's thriving while you're sinking. Maya's crash lives there, why them, not me? Adversity humbles, Thomas whispers. Step back, let it teach. Peace holds when you don't measure by their shine. And personal crises? Illness, grief, a plan derailed. Adversity bites hard. Maya and Sam felt it raw, unfair. It's good for you, Thomas insists, not the pain, but the strength it births. I will never leave you, Scripture vows. Lean in, and zeal sparks through tears. In a world that flees hardship, this embrace is bold, a contentment that shines in shadow. A final story and reflection. One last tale to hold it. There's a woman named June, 62, a widow who lost her home to a flood. Memories drowned, she's in a rented room, staring at walls. What now? She chokes. She reads, the Lord disciplines those he loves. Anger fades, she volunteers, rebuilds, finds joy in less. It took everything, she says, and gave me this. Her smile's weathered, fierce. That's the value of adversity, a call to face trials, to find gold in ash, to grow through breaking. Thomas A. Kempis shows us contentment isn't in ease, but in endurance, a peace and zeal refined by fire. And yet, as we rise stronger from life's storms, another battle looms, not the outward crash of hardship, but the inward pull of desire. Thomas knows this fight well, and he guides us next into the quiet war of resisting temptation. Part 13, Resisting Temptation. And so, with adversity's lessons carved into our spirits and our hearts steeled by its fire, we face a subtler foe, resisting temptation. Thomas A. Kempis peers into the shadows of the soul and sees the whispers that lure us: pleasure, power, escape, temptations that promise much but deliver little. He writes, so long as we live in this world, we cannot be without temptations, for our flesh is frail and the enemy ever near. This isn't about fear or shame, it's about standing firm, armed with grace, against the currents that threaten our peace. Let's start with a story. Meet Noah, a 25-year-old musician scraping by gigs at night, odd jobs by day. He's good, but the grind wears him down, and one evening, a friend offers an easy out: sell this quick cash, no sweat. It's drugs, small time, tempting. Noah's rent's late, his guitar's busted. He hesitates, heart racing, picturing the relief. Then he remembers a line from Thomas: temptation resisted is strength gained. He walks away, shaky but whole, and lands a bar gig next week. Not easy, he mutters, but mine. That's resisting a no that builds a yes. Thomas would sit with Noah and say, the struggle's real, but so's the victory. He's not naive. Christ faced the desert's lures, but he sees temptation as a forge, not a fall. It tests us, yes, but it toughens us too, each refusal a brick in the wall of our soul. Resisting isn't joyless, it's choosing the deeper joy, the lasting peace over the fleeting flash. Here's another tale. Picture Claire, a 39-year-old accountant, married, steady until a co-worker's flirty texts spark something. She's bored, he's charming, and late-night chats feel alive in a way home doesn't. Just words, she tells herself, but the pull grows secret, thrilling. One day, she reads, "Flee from temptation," and it hits her vows, her kids, her quiet life. She blocks him, confesses to her husband, and they talk raw, hard, real. "I almost lost it," she says, "but I kept it." Temptation's lure faded, her strength didn't. Unpacking contentment in resisting temptation. What do we gain by standing firm? Thomas ties it to that ever-deepening contentment, a peace that holds, a zeal that purifies through the fight. Let's unpack it, because this is battle won grace. First, it brings freedom. Noah's yes to the quick fix would have chained him: guilt, risk, a life not his. Resisting cut the rope, he's poor, but free. Sin enslaves, Scripture warns, and saying no unshackles us. That freedom's contentment, a life owned, not owed. Second, it builds character. Claire's flirtation dangled escape, but resisting forged her honesty over fantasy, grit over glitter. Resist the devil, and he will flee, Thomas echoes James, and that stand shapes us. It's not just surviving, it's thriving, a contentment carved in resolve. Third, it deepens reliance. Temptation's pull tests our strength. Noah and Claire felt their frailty, but turns us to God. "Lead us not into temptation," Christ prayed, and Thomas says, "Lean there." Each fight won't win itself, it's grace given, a contentment that rests in a power beyond ours. Connecting to modern life. Let's bring this to your world, right here in 2025. Temptation's a daily guest, sly and loud. Take work. Ever faced a shortcut, like Noah? A fudged report, a quiet bribe, easy, tempting. Thomas says, stand, do it right, even if it's hard. Peace lasts when integrity does. Or social media, that temptation trap. Claire's thrill lives there: doom scrolling, envy, a late night DM that pulls. Resist, Thomas urges. Log off, look up. Contentment holds when you don't chase the glow. In a world of instant, this pause is power. And personal crises. Stress hits, and temptation whispers, numb it with a drink, a fling, a lie. Noah and Claire faced it. Quick fixes beckon loud. Flee, Thomas insists, my strength is sufficient, Scripture vows. Turn away, lean in, zeal grows, peace stays. In a culture that bends, this stand is gold, a contentment that shines through the fray. A final story and reflection. One last tale to seal it. There's a man named Isaac, 60, a recovering gambler. Years clean, but a casino ad flashes: old itch, big win, one bet. His hands shake, wallets close. He reads, watch and pray, lest you enter temptation. He walks past, calls a friend, talk me down. They laugh, he breathes free again. It's still there, he says, but I'm stronger. That's resisting temptation, a call to fight wisely, to choose deeply, to win through grace. Thomas à Kempis shows us contentment isn't in giving in, but in holding out, a peace and zeal tempered by the battle. And yet, as we stand firm against our inner lures, another danger slips in: not the pull of desire, but the haste of our own judgment. Thomas sees the snare too, and he leads us next into the wisdom of avoiding rash judgment. Part 14, Avoiding Rash Judgment. And so, with our hearts fortified by resisting temptation and our spirits lifted by the strength of grace, we come to a lesson that guards our clarity, avoiding rash judgment. Thomas à Kempis peers into the quickness of our minds: how easily we size up, condemn, assume and offers a gentle caution. He writes, "Turn your eyes upon yourself, and beware of judging the deeds of others, for in judging others we often lose more than we gain." This isn't about ignoring wrong, it's about pausing, reflecting, and leaving room for mercy over haste. Let's start with a story. Meet Priya, a 31-year-old nurse with a sharp eye and sharper tongue. She's at the hospital, watching a new intern fumble, drops a tray, forgets a chart. "Lazy," Priya mutters, rolling her eyes, ready to write him off. Later, she overhears he's sleep deprived, caring for a sick mom. Her snap judgment stings now, hollow. She reads Thomas, "Judge not, lest you be judged," and next shift, she helps him instead, quiet, kind. "I didn't know," she admits. That's rash judgment, a leap that trips, a truth missed. Thomas would sit with Priya and say, "Look inward first, leave others to God." He's not blind. Christ called out sin, but he warns against the rush to label, to box people in. Rash judgment clouds us, stirs pride, sows discord, steals the peace we've fought for. It's not about excusing all, it's about holding back the gavel, seeking truth over snap verdicts. Here's another tale. Picture Leo, a 44-year-old store manager, steady but stern. A cashier's late again, third time this month, and Leo's done. Unreliable, he grumbles, drafting a write-up. Then he hears she's a single mom, bus broke down, no one to call. Should have said something, he thinks, but Thomas's words echo, "Be slow to judge." He talks to her instead, offers a schedule tweak. She shines after, loyal. "I almost lost her," he says, "over my haste." Rash judgment nearly cost him patience won. Unpacking contentment in avoiding rash judgment. What do we gain by holding back? Thomas weaves it into that rich contentment, a peace that clears, a zeal that softens through restraint. Let's unpack it, because this is subtle but strong. First, it brings humility. Priya's quick call humbled her. She's not the arbiter of all. Remove the plank from your own eye, Scripture chides, and that mirror turns judgment inward. It's not weakness, it's wisdom, a contentment that rests in not knowing all. Second, it fosters mercy. Leo's write-up paused for grace. He saw her struggle, not just her fault. Mercy triumphs over judgment, Thomas echoes James, and that shift heals. It's not naive, it's kind, a contentment that binds, not breaks. Third, it deepens peace. Rash judgment stirs Priya's scorn, Leo's ire, but restraint soothes. "Judge not," Christ taught, and Thomas says it's rest, less noise in your soul, more room for God. That peace fuels contentment, a calm that holds when we don't rush to rule. Connecting to modern life. Let's bring this to your world, right here in 2025. Rash judgment's a reflex, quick as a click. Take work. Ever pegged a co-worker lazy, like Priya? A missed email, a slow reply, done, judged. Thomas says, wait. Ask, listen, peace stays when you don't leap. Or social media, that judgment jungle. A post annoys, political, smug, and you're typing, idiot. Leo's haste thrives there. Condemn, scroll, repeat. Hold back, Thomas urges. Read twice, reply less. Contentment lives when you don't fuel the fire. And personal crises? A friend flakes, a spouse snaps, rash judgment bites, selfish, cold. Priya and Leo learn there's a story you don't see. Love believes all things, Scripture hopes, pause, seek it. In a world of hot takes, this slowness is gold, a contentment that sees, not seethes. A final story and reflection. One last tale to root it. There's a man named Omar, 55, a bus driver with a gruff edge. A kid's loud headphones blaring and Omar fumes, no respect. He's ready to bark, but reads, judge not by appearances. He glances back, kid's tired, eyes red. Rough day? Omar asks. A nod, a grin quiet rides after. I'd have missed that, he says. That's avoiding rash judgment, a call to pause wisely, to see truly, to guard peace with mercy. Thomas à Kempis shows us contentment isn't in quick verdicts, but in slow grace, a stillness that lifts us above the fray. And yet, as we soften our judgments and open our eyes to others' unseen struggles, a new call rises, not just to see, but to act, to pour out love from the peace we've found. Thomas hears it too, and he guides us next into the beauty of works done in charity. Part 15, Works Done in Charity. And so, with our hearts gentled by avoiding rash judgment and our spirits cleared by the grace of mercy, we step into a lesson that turns stillness into motion, works done in charity. Thomas à Kempis looks at the love within us, stirred by faith, honed by trials, and urges us to let it flow outward. He writes, "Nothing is sweeter than love, nothing stronger, nothing higher, in it, all good things are found." This isn't about grand gestures or earning favor, it's about small, true acts, done for God's sake, that bind us to others and to Him. Let's start with a story. Meet Sophia, a 36-year-old single mom, stretched thin, 2 jobs, kids to feed, no time to breathe. One snowy day, her car won't start, and she's stranded, late for work. A neighbor, an older man named Henry, sees her struggle. He's no mechanic, but he grabs a shovel, clears her drive, brings hot tea. "You're okay," he says, simple, quiet. Sophia's eyes well, she's not used to kindness. Later, she reads Thomas do all in charity and leaves cookies on Henry's porch. "He gave me more than time," she says. That's charity, a spark that warms both ways. Thomas would sit with Sophia and Henry and say, "Love moves, it doesn't sit." He's not after showy deeds. Christ fed quietly, healed humbly, but he sees charity as the fruit of a heart at peace. Works done in love aren't for praise, they're for connection, a zeal that flows from stillness, not striving. They're the hands of grace, touching where words can't. Here's another tale. Picture Jamal, a 48-year-old janitor, steady, unseen. He sweeps floors at a school, unnoticed till a kid drops a lunch tray messy, tears follow. Jamal kneels, cleans it, slips the kid $1, get another. No fuss, no fanfare. Later, he reads, "Charity seeks not its own." The kid's shy thanks sticks with him. Felt good, he shrugs, better than a raise. His quiet act ripples peace for the boy, purpose for him. Unpacking contentment in works done in charity. What do these acts bring us? Thomas stitches them into that deep contentment, a peace that gives, a zeal that glows through love. Let's unpack it, because this is the soul's quiet song. First, it brings joy. Sophia's cookies, Henry's tea, small, but they lit up dark days. Love covers a multitude of sins, Scripture sings, and that giving lifts us. It's not forced, it's free, a contentment that bubbles when we share, not hoard. Second, it builds unity. Jamal's $1 bridged a gap, kid to man, need to care. Bear one another's burdens, Thomas echoes Paul, and charity weaves us together. It's not loud, it's strong, a contentment that ties us to the whole, not the self. Third, it deepens purpose. Charity turns peace outward. Henry didn't just rest, he reached. Sophia didn't just receive, she gave back. Do it for God, Thomas says, and that aim fuels us. It's not duty, it's delight, a contentment that lives in love's flow, not its grip. Connecting to modern life. Let's bring this to your world, right here in 2025. Charity's a bomb in our rush. Take work. Ever seen a colleague drown, like Sophia? A late shift, a missed bus. Thomas says, step in. Cover a task, buy a coffee. Peace grows when you lift, not look away. Or social media, that self-first stage. Your posting wins, chasing clout. Jamal's quiet contrasts. Love seeks not its own, Thomas nudges. Share a kind word, boost someone else. Contentment shines when you give, not grab, online. And personal crises? A friend's low, a stranger's need charity calls. Henry and Sophia felt it, small acts mend big breaks. Love your neighbor, scripture urges, try it, a meal, a call. In a world of me, this outreach is gold, a contentment that flows, not fades. A final story and reflection. One last tale to hold it. There's a woman named Rosa, 70, a retired clerk with arthritis and a big heart. She can't do much, but she knits scarves for the shelter, slow, steady. Keeps me going, she says, dropping them off. A teen wears one, grins, Rosa beams. All for love, she reads in Thomas, and it fits.